Welcome back, everybody. We are here with the next installment of TikTok Summer Songwriting Series. Very excited today to be here. We have the artist, obviously, Melanie Martinez, artist and songwriter, and we have Michael Keenan, who's been her executive producer throughout her two big album releases and has been with her every step of her career. I am Bill Werde. I am the director of the Bandier program for the recording and entertainment industries at Syracuse University. And this whole experience is part of a program with After School All-Stars, an absolutely amazing organization that works with students in under-resourced communities to give them every opportunity that they deserve and every opportunity they need. So today, in addition to speaking to all of your fans, Melanie and Michael, we're also gonna be talking to some great students who are really looking forward to the wisdom you have to share, the insights you have to share, and probably some fun stories about some of the hit songs that we all know extremely well, especially if we are paying attention to TikTok at all. And of course we all are. So welcome.
Thank you. This is exciting.
Thank you. Yeah, we're very excited to be here.
Excellent, excellent. So let's just get right started. I mean, Playdate right now is one of the biggest songs on TikTok, which is one of the biggest platforms in music anywhere. So ergo, you have one of the biggest songs in the world in Playdate, as far as I'm concerned. When you were setting about making this song, did you have any understanding that it was, I mean, you included this as a bonus track on your first album.
Yeah, it says a lot. I mean,
it doesn't sound to me like you thought this was going to be the single to end all singles.
No, honestly, it was the biggest surprise ever. Especially, 5 years later, it's like so unexpected. But I'm super grateful that people connect with it and resonate with it right now. It's one of my favorite songs, and me and Mikey have always loved it. But yeah, we felt like story-wise, it belonged more as a bonus track on Crybaby than on the standard album.
It's so pretty, and it has such a unique sound. I think like a lot of your music, you get classified as sort of like alt pop sometimes, which is one of these designations. Do you know what that means when people call you alt pop? Do you have a...
We talk about this all the time. Like, genre doesn't really exist for us. Like, we are influenced by a lot of things when we make music. Like, sometimes we like having elements of all types of different genres. So it's kind of like this mashup and mix of everything that we've ever really been influenced by, I think, in our lives and what we think sounds good in the moment. So
everything's supposed to be a little bit genre bending and blended,
Yeah.
So that's actually, we have some questions from students that may come in as we talk. One of the questions from students, and you sort of just touched on this, so I'll check in with you about it. Zenaria Jackman from New Jersey asks, when you're writing a song, where do you start? So maybe we can pick this song and check in on that.
Okay, yeah. I mean, Playdate, it was written 5 years ago. So it's quite a long time ago, but I think that every single time I've ever written a song, I always start with the title. It's the most important thing for me to have a clear concept of what it is that I'm trying to say as far as the story goes. So it has to be very clear from beginning to end. And I can be a little like too critical on myself with that sometimes. And sometimes I'll take it a little too literal and try to tell the story as best as I can. And lately I've been trying to open up more and kind of create multiple meanings for one theme, so it still fits within the world, but it also has multiple other layers that other people can resonate and connect with. With Playdate, it was, I hadn't really ever experienced that dynamic yet, like a superficial connection, because I was so young when I wrote it, but it was kind of like foreshadowing the experiences that I would have later on in my life, which I thought was really interesting. But yeah, as far as like other songs go, I'll just have a list of like 70 to 80 titles, and I'll just we'll be working. It's just kind of overwhelming, to be honest, but we'll just find chords first. Mikey will, bring out the MIDI keyboard usually, or we'll go on the piano or guitar, whatever we're feeling. And then we'll find chords. Sometimes we'll base it off of a voice memo. So I have like a long list of voice memos that I'll just randomly, while I'm walking in the street or just showering or whatever, I'll just make a voice memo, and then I'll bring it into the studio later on, and we'll listen to them, and we'll see which ones compel us to write a song. And sometimes we'll move on it and we don't end up liking it, and then we end up just scrapping everything and saying, you know what, let's just find chords, we like a different instrument that inspires us, and let's just start from scratch and not be afraid to try a new idea. So it's all so dependent on the day really that we're having.
Yeah, there's so many forms of inspiration. Like it could just be an idea that pops into your head, or it could be a sound that we find that's just random and interesting sounding. Like there's no like one answer, but
it sounds like part of the process of songwriting for you both is being very open to inspiration and documenting it as it happens.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
It's a very
There's never a wrong time to grab your iPhone, right?
Yeah, exactly.
The iPhone voice memos is one of the greatest tools that we all have.
Yeah.
Honestly, like every person that I know in the music industry at some point or another is using that app to make their ideas happen.
Yeah, I think the Notes app is like the new Tin Pan Alley of the music industry. It's great.
It is.
Yeah, it's true.
It's funny too, because like something about the quality of the way it sounds is desirable sometimes. So I'll even just put my iPhone over at the piano and that'll be like my recording medium. I won't set up really nice microphones and really expensive gear. I'll just, airdrop the recording from voice memos of the piano over to Pro Tools and then start working on it.
So I want to ask, because we're talking about songwriting and we're talking about composition and really kind of going from the beginning to the end of a song, with Playdate, Mikey, what was your earliest memory of Playdate in any context?
Well, so Playdate was originally an idea that Mel thought of with our friend Jen DeSilvio. So it came to me almost as like a last minute thing, because I had done the other few songs on the Crybaby project, and then this one came to me and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like I really want to work on this. So it was just the vocal with some interesting piano thing. Jen can play piano really well. So it was like this classical piano almost sounding thing. And the first thing that I did was find that main instrument that kind of, I can even pull it up and show you real quick. The main instrument that was in Playdate is, it sounds like.
Do you want to play the demo first?
Oh yeah, true.
So
I have
the demo. This is what he was sent. So this is what me and Jen sent him over to Mikey originally.
Yep. So 1 second.
You call me on the telephone, you feel so far away. You tell me to come over, there's some games you wanna play. I'm walking to your house, nobody's home, just me and you and me alone.
So you can already kind of hear like the bounce is already there and like the feeling's already there, but we grabbed, let's see, the main instrument. This is what really started the inspiration for me for going, was this thing. So that was the main instrument that started it all for me. I just thought that sound was so cool and interesting and unique.
And how did you come across that?
So it was a sound in Omnisphere, which I can also pull up. Just give me 1 second, because it's an old session and it likes to act real funky. So if you look at the session here, Omnisphere is pulling up, which is a pretty common program. So what it is, it's a combination of this thing, the plastic Stratocaster, and I'm not going to try to read that, but this guitar instrument. And those are the two sounds that make up that sound. And it's just right here with an Omnisphere, which I'm sure probably most people who have Omnisphere could pull up.
Very cool. Very cool. So is this, Mikey, once you get your hands on a song, do you do most of your work in this?
Yes, I work mainly in Pro Tools. I started in a program called Reason, which I no longer use anymore. I use it like occasionally, but pretty much everything now is just within Pro Tools.
Okay, excellent. Listen, I want to ask Melanie, I want to take a step back now for both of you. When we're talking to students, obviously, I think such a big part of these conversations is helping them understand what different paths can look like, what different paths forward can look like. And I think these students, and frankly, most people listening, they take a lot of inspiration from your stories and the stories of other artists who've been able to kind of break out of the pack a little bit and find some footing as an artist. Can you talk just a little bit about maybe each of you lessons that you take away from your earliest days? Maybe there's a key decision that you did or didn't make. Maybe there's a key moment that, you know, could have gone either way, but it was really important that you did this thing.
Yeah, I think everyone's path is different. You're so right with that. Me and Mikey's path was so completely different. So the fact that we even crossed paths is so, you know, I mean, it seems so unlikely, you know, but it's very interesting for me. Like the way that I started was when I was younger, I was super into just writing poetry. So I was kind of like a writer prior to really making songs or anything like that. I didn't really write any music, but then I started to learn how to play guitar, and I taught myself how to play guitar just by looking up like YouTube tutorials and chord diagrams. Even when we, you know, make music now, I mean, Mikey's just like still learning how to play guitar too. And he has like a chord diagram book that we'll just like pull out and just try to find cool chords to, like.
This is the book.
Yeah.
This is how I translate piano chords into guitar chords.
Yeah. So I started with guitar and then just started to write music, would mix my poetry with playing guitar and find melodies that would make sense with what I was writing. And then as, you know, I started to go along, I just started to write my own music and post videos on YouTube. And then I auditioned for The Voice randomly. My parents saw this like open call listed online, and they took me to Manhattan. I almost didn't make it. My car like broke down on the way and stuff too. So it was a very interesting experience. But and at the end of the day, you know, I don't think it's for everyone to go on singing shows. I think that they're primarily for people who want, you know, like who need exposure for their music if they already have music out or something like that. But since I was a songwriter, and first and foremost, I'll always be a writer, it was really difficult for me to be on a show where I had to sing other people's songs. So that's just one like tip for anyone who's a songwriter and, you know, is looking for a path to have their music be heard. I wouldn't personally recommend going on a singing show. I would just recommend continuing to write music and to build up your catalog and to just put out music, whether it's on SoundCloud or however, really. And
I have to say,
yeah.
I'm gonna come back to Mikey in just a second. I have to say, I love the story that you almost missed your ability to audition for The Voice because your family's car broke down.
Yeah, I had to catch a cab. A really nice woman like stopped her cab for me and my mom, and we made it. So
what
stars align.
Yeah, everything happens for a reason. I don't know.
Well, I guess the more challenging, right? The more challenges, the more it feels like you really accomplished something when you finally get your moment. What role, Melanie, did music play for you as a young woman? I mean, you say you were a writer and then that turned into songs. Like, what role did it fill for you as a kid?
I just loved all creative art forms. So I loved painting, I loved photography, I loved writing poetry, I loved singing, I loved dancing. So music was kind of like the base for everything. Ever since I was a really young kid, my dad would play a lot of like whether it was old school like R&B or hip hop or even like the Beatles or the Bee Gees. Like he was into so many different influences, and that kind of in turn influenced me to love music and have an appreciation for music and to always be singing and wanting to just really listen to music any moment I could. So I think he was my biggest influence as far as like what got me really invested in music as an art form. But yeah, I don't know, like as time went on, I just kind of felt like it was my passion and my purpose in life and just stuck with it.
And Mikey, what about your start? When did you first realize that music was something that you wanted to do, and how did you turn it into something that you could do?
I mean, it's an interesting story because I started out in like, you know, school bands. Like I started as a drummer. I was a percussionist. And my mom really made me do a lot with that because she saw the talent early. Even though I kicked and screamed, she would drive me 45 minutes like each way to lessons and ensembles that were out of state for me to just be able to grow and develop those skills. And I absolutely hated it. And to be honest with you, I applied to be a photographer for college. And through that process, like realized that I didn't know what I was doing. And then a friend of mine's older brother gave me a music program, and that was the moment where I was like, and that program was Reason, by the way. That's why I still kind of use it from time to time, because it's my original program. But that program was the light switch turning on of, oh, I can like be an entire band, and like I don't have to just be a drummer in a band, or I don't have to play classical music in a classical band or whatever. And that's kind of where, for me, like I was like, oh my God, this is what I can do, because now I can work on the music that I love listening to, which is hip hop and pop for the most part. So that opened up the lane to find a school, like a college for learning more about audio engineering and just the technical aspects of it, as well as giving me like the time and space to be able to just work. Because I think that that's the main like comparable aspect of both of our stories, and for every artist or producer or writer, is that you're gonna fall down time and time and time and time again, and you have to keep getting up, and you have to put everything into this. Like the amount of sacrifices that I've made on a personal level during my early years, like when I was in college and when I got out of college and was living in New York, is beyond what most people do. Like you have to put absolutely everything into it. Like there's no, well, I'm going to figure it out, or like, we'll do this and that to make it work. It's just like, you kind of have to jump off the cliff and just see if you can fly. And if you fall, you just figure out how to try it again. And you just keep going. And that goes for the way things sound in my productions as well. I have a lot of younger guys and girls that are hitting me up like, you know, what do you use for this? Or what drums are those? Or can you send me that kick or whatever? And to be honest with you, I use all the same stuff that everybody else uses. Like I use, you know, some Boy Wonder kicks or some Dr. Dre kicks or whatever. It's just like the same packs that everybody has. It's just about sticking with it until your heart tells you that it feels right and it sounds good, and then just being creative, you know?
So here's a question for both of you that I find a lot of young songwriters, new producers will struggle with. You played the demo for Playdate, and then you sort of showed the evolution a little bit.
Yeah.
How did you know when Playdate was done? How did you know when that song was finished?
For me, it's a feeling. It's like it's two feelings, I guess. Actually, it's wow, this feels really good. Like I can get up and walk around my room and dance to it by myself and feel like I'm performing it. That's always a thing for me. Is I just kind of pretend I'm the performer in front of the mirror.
Is air guitar happening in those situations, or
if there's a guitar, then yeah, 100%.
I just want to make sure.
Yeah, I mean it's a side of me that no one really will see ever. It's a very personal side of me. But then the other side of it is the nerves of sending it to Mel, in this case, of being like, I hope she likes it as much as I do. What about on your side?
Yeah, well, on my side, usually both of us know pretty well. Like you'll send it to me and you'll be like, I could always tell. I feel like you do have that gut instinct, and it's always right. Like there's never been a moment where it has been, you know, like we're mixed matched of like, this is my gut instinct. And I'm like, no, this
especially
is
the
not.
more we do.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I mean, it was kind of instant. You sent it over and I was like, it totally transformed the song for me. I mean, cause for me, all I had to base, you know, the song off of was really just that piano line and my voice the whole time. So he really transformed the song and made it into something completely different and added all these story elements that really built out the story even further. Like that little like breakdown that you do, you should play those like sounds, like the audio sounds that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I can touch on that real quick. There's in the session, I kind of color code all of my stuff so that I know where I'm at. All of these yellow.
If you want to break this down kind of slowly so anyone watching can really understand what they're looking at, that would be awesome.
Yeah, let me take this real slow. So within this session, this is everything that makes up Playdate. And I color code things so that pink is vocals, just so that I know where everything is. And if anybody else opens the session, it's easier for them. So the red one is always where everything is going to. That's what we're listening to, what comes out of there. All of these green ones are different, like reverbs, which is like an echo, like kind of make it sound like you're in like a big gymnasium, or little effects like that. And then pink is all of the vocals.
Purple.
Pink or purple. Yeah, I mean, that kind of looks pink here and purple here. But and then Just blue is usually just like main instruments as well as these ones. And then red is always bass for me, which in this case was kind of an 808. And then orange is always all of the drums, which always get bussed to their own drum bus, which, you know, people who work on music know what I mean. But if you don't work on music, this is just basically all of these things come together into this track so that they all glue together really nicely and sound like one unit rather than several different things. And then what we were just talking about now is all of these yellow tracks, which are different kind of like, I don't really know what to call them besides like almost Foley sounds. They're just like sounds from almost that you would expect in like a TV show or something. So I'm going to show.
Are those actually like sounds that, can you play one?
Yeah, I'm going to show a few examples real quick. So here's like just kids laughing, which is in the song. And there's another one here. And if you're like listening on headphones, you can hear that those are kind of like ones in one ear and ones in the other ear to make this kind of wide sounding thing.
Can you play the part of the song where that laugh is actually used now?
Yeah. Just give me 1 second because I didn't pull up the drums. So just give me 1 second.
I'm putting you to work. I'm sorry.
No, you should be. But I forgot to open the drums because I don't use Reason anymore. So it's like my muscle memory with that is it left. All right, opening up Reason. But this is good because you get to see Reason too. Reason looks a little bit more intimidating, but it's not.
Melanie, while he's digging this up, I would ask you, because I love these stories, right? This only happens on TikTok where a song is released like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and it's a perfectly fine release and everyone's happy with it or not. And then all of a sudden, 2-3 years later, you're getting like text and it's like, oh, I'm hearing your song and it's blowing up. What was your experience in that regard?
Really just that. I mean, all my friends were like, hey, Playdate's getting really big on TikTok. And I kind of just, you know, I was like, that's cool. That's really awesome. But I did not expect it to be really resonating with people the way that it is. I actually just thought that it was just some quick like day thing. Like, oh, the day is just